Hey there, do you feel trapped in your relationship? When you think about leaving, are you actually afraid of what your partner will do? And you don't have to just be afraid that they would be physically violent if they're not physically violent, but are you afraid that there'll be some retribution, that they will try to embarrass you at work or call your boss or tell your friends or reveal something really damaging or embarrassing to your family? In this video, I am going to teach you how to leave an abusive and or controlling partner so that you can get on with your amazing life. My name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. So this is basically part 2. I did a video that was part 1 about, are you in an abusive relationship? How to tell if you're actually in it, because it's very easy to not believe what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, what you're thinking when you're in a relationship with an abuser, because they're very crafty at convincing you that it's you, convincing you that the problem is you. And if you were just better, different, whatever it is, that this wouldn't be happening. So before we get into the actual steps of how to leave safely, because this is the most important thing. So any of you who are watching this, who are in an abusive relationship, if it's actually happening in your life right now, please don't do anything yet. Make a safe exit plan. There's a way to do it. I'll give you a whole bunch of resources at the end of this video. There's a way to do it. There is support. There are people who are experts. There are ways that you can get help. Please do not do anything compulsive, right? Don't do anything rash, because it's scary enough to leave. I don't want you doing anything that tips your hand to the abuser. I don't know what situation you're in, but anything that will really threaten the abuser could escalate violence if you're in a violent situation. So please don't do anything just yet. So let's just start by letting me establish that not only can you survive this situation, but you can get out of it and you can thrive. I have helped clients leave abusive situations and their lives have blossomed, and things have happened after they've left that never would have happened had they stayed. So just know that it really is possible for you to live a whole second or third part of your life. I don't care how long you've been in this relationship. You have a right to be safe. You have a right to be happy. You have a right to be deeply, deeply loved. So let's just start on that note. But you have to admit and acknowledge that there is abuse. That has to happen because, I find that a lot of clients or people who write me online are doubting what's happened in their life. Like, if you don't have a black eye or a broken bone, it feels like it's not abuse. But let me tell you, that isn't true. Name calling, intimidation, yelling, they're all kinds of abuse. Forced to have sex without your consent, that's actually rape, whether you're married or not. That's sexual assault, you know? Are you always walking on eggshells in this relationship? Abusers are charming. They can be apologetic. They're so sorry after the abuse. There's always that honeymoon period that feels really good. And then the tension builds again. And then it leads to another explosion. That's why it's called a cycle of abuse. And you could stay trapped in this cycle for the rest of your life. But oh my God, please don't. I don't want you to. This is your one and only amazing life on this planet. People, not to quote Cher, but I will. This is not a dress rehearsal. Like, we're live. This is happening right now. It matters. You matter. You deserve to be safe, to breathe a sigh of relief, to exhale, to relax. You deserve to not spend your life walking on eggshells. Oh my God, it sucks so much. It's terrible. So you have to at least admit that there's abuse happening for you in order to sort of move on. If you're starting to think about leaving, you really have to start already thinking in terms of using something that's safe. Use a safe computer that the abuser does not have access to, because it's very easy for someone who's at all computer savvy to be watching exactly what you're doing. And so if you start to check out like the National Domestic Violence website and different websites, like I'll give you in the bottom right here on this video, that person is going to know you're thinking about leaving. So you want to start to really think about total protection. It's about being really hyper vigilant right now about your own safety. The end of this video is going to be you coming up with this safe plan, this safe way of getting out. I mean, you have to reach out for help, right? This can be a start, but I'm going to give you resources. You have to actually get help. You have to figure out if you're being verbally and or emotionally abused. In the last video, I talked about gaslighting. If someone is denying your reality all the time, if someone is isolating from your friends and family, there are all these signs and symbols. So if you didn't watch that and you're sort of watching this one being like, I'm not sure, please go watch that video. Because once you watch the video, you will be sure. Because there's no way to not see. I think I gave you 10 symptoms or signs, like warning signs, to look for in your relationship. But honestly, if you're watching this video and you're drawn to this material, you know if your relationship is abusive, if it's verbally abusive or emotionally abusive or physically abusive. You probably already know it. And the truth is, if you are unsure, if you're honestly unsure, go back and watch that video. And that will tell you conclusively, and then come back to this video. But you must acknowledge that there's abuse. You must be willing to reach out for help. And then you have to look at the underlying issues of why you're drawn to an abuser to begin with. That's so much of the work that I do with clients. That's so much of the work that I'm doing in the Real Love Revolution, which is coming up actually in February. But all of these videos that are free and all of the downloaded blueprints and the PDFs that I've been gifting to you guys is for you to understand, why do you end up with an abuser? What is happening? What happened in your young life that made this happen for you? That made you recognize the person that you're with right now as someone who you would be with, that would make sense to be with, that you would look at them and go, oh, this is what love looks like. Love and pain, love and tension, love and stress went together, or love and violence in your young life. So let's get a plan together to get the hell out of this situation. Let's actually do it, because it won't do itself. The part of you that has not unpacked your childhood trauma or your abusive past, that little kid in you is so afraid to make the move that they're not gonna make the move. So you've got to let me guide you, let someone else guide you, reach out to these resources, find other women on these sites who've done it, other men who've done it, who've actually left. But you have to getting ready to leave is the most important part of the plan. Leaving itself is going to take 10 minutes, when you actually do it, when you actually walk out the door for the last time. It's the planning that is going to actually take time. So there are people who do this for a living. So I'm actually deferring to womenslaw.org, because this is a nonprofit organization that help people do this, help women do this. And the same would be true for men, you guys, if you're a man in this situation, who help people do this all the time. So we're going to look to them for an exit strategy, which I'll tell you some about, and then I'm going to write it in the notes for you so that you'll actually have it. Getting ready to leave, what do you need to do? You need to have a plan, including where you're going to go, how to cover your tracks if it's a really violent, abusive situation, and that you have to give yourself enough time to prepare so this plan can be in place, right? Make other plans. So you have two plans, the long-term plan and then the quick contingency. If energetically this person senses that you're leaving, you're going to need a plan that you can leave really quickly. So you have to actually, the longer-term plan is that if there's been abuse, I hope you've been documenting it, taking pictures of bruises, anything that's bloody, anything that's battered, anything that was used to hit you, anything that's broken in the home, a window, anything. Take pictures, write down what happened, put the date, right? because anything, the mess that the person created, everything that's connected to the violence that has been perpetrated on you, you need pictures of. Any documentation from police, from the doctors. You need to have all of this in one place. You have to go, if you're hurt, to the emergency room, to the doctor as soon as possible. Tell them exactly what happened. Ask them to make a record of your visit and what happened to you. Make sure you get a copy of the record. Keep a journal that you can have as many details as possible about the abuse. And again, just in case you have to go to court. Who knows? Listen, I hope none of this you need, but I want you to have it in case you do. Make sure you have a safe place where all of these things can be hidden from the abuser. If you have evidence of any of these things, threatening voicemails, save them. Text messages, save them. Emails, bring those copies with you. Put that in your escape kit, right? Things that you need in this escape bag is a spare set of keys, your driver's license, and make a copy of your driver's license, a list of your credit cards, your checkbook, money, any phone numbers for friends, doctors, schools, taxi services, and your local domestic violence organization. You want a list of that in case the abuser takes your phone. A change of clothing for yourself and for your children if you have kids, any medications that you take or that your children need, copies of all of your children's birth certificates, social security cards, school records, immunization, anything that you would need for the kids. Copies of any of all legal documents for you and the abuser, such as social security cards, passports, green cards, medical records, insurance information, birth certificates, marriage licenses, wills, welfare identification information, and copies of any court orders, right? If you have an order of protection or custody orders, all of them you need. Copies of financial documentation for you and the abuser, such as pay stubs, bank accounts, information, list of credit cards that you hold for yourself and together with the abuser, any evidence that you've been collecting to show that you've been abused, and a few things that you want to keep, like maybe photographs or jewelry or any other personal items. You have to hide this bag somewhere where the abuser will not find it. So try to keep it at the home of a trusted friend or a neighbor. Avoid using the next door neighbors, close family members, or mutual friends, as the abuser will be most likely to find it there. If you're in an emergency and need to get out right away, don't worry about gathering these things. While they're helpful to have, getting out safely is the most important thing. So you want to hide the extra car keys someplace where you can get it easily in case the abuser takes the car keys to prevent you from leaving, which is why you want them in that bag. And if you can get an additional set to hide somewhere outside of your home, and try to set money aside because you need money if you're going to escape. And again, with all of these things, if you can only leave with yourself and your kids and go to a shelter, if your safety dictates that that's the only thing you can do, then that's okay, do that. Nothing comes above your physical safety. If you haven't gotten a protection order, that's important because this is part of the safety plan when you're preparing to leave. You don't have to tell them. They don't have to know, right? You should still put all these other things in place. But as the last thing that you do once you leave, you can get the protective order. And you want to leave when the abuser will least expect it because it'll give you more time to get away before they realize that you're gone. So if you have time to call the police before you're leaving, you can ask for a police escort right out of the house when you leave. You can also ask them to be on call, right, when you're leaving in case you need it. Not all police precincts will help you in these ways, but you may want to ask your local police station if they will. So if you plan on taking the children with you, that's a whole other thing, which I'll write about so that you could actually have it. And after you've left, right, if you want to go to a confidential location, somewhere where because the abuser is going to be looking for you. And this is, you guys listen, this is in more extreme cases. But a lot of this advice is really good, even if the person is just emotionally abusive and they're threatening to embarrass. I've had so many clients who've been in abusive situations where how their partner was keeping them in line is that they were going to tell their family the terrible things that they did, even though they weren't that terrible, but they were ashamed of them. And they didn't want the abuser telling the people. They'll keep you in line by saying they're going to call your boss. So leaving and going somewhere where they can't get in touch with you, right? Going to a hotel, if you can, as far away from this person as you can go, like hours away. I mean, it's a different situation. If you don't have children, there's more freedom to leave. Don't block your number, change your number, right? Do not call them back no matter what they say. And if you've been emotionally abused, that's going to be really hard. So you want to make sure that you are getting to a safe place. Don't use your cell phone to make the phone calls. Do it from somewhere else. And then start rebuilding your life. I'm going to give you tons of resources in the blog and right here on YouTube so that you can leave successfully. And you guys, don't underestimate or minimize what is happening in your life. If you are walking on eggshells, if you are afraid of your spouse, if you are afraid to leave, this tells you you must leave. And there is a safe way to do it. And I've just given you a bunch of great ideas of how to do it. But I really want you to reach out to, there are so many domestic violence hotlines, and they will not minimize what you're going through. Emotional violence is violent. Verbal violence is violence, and it's real. If you are watching this video because you think that you're in an abusive situation, you most likely are, and you don't deserve it. And you're doing it because you don't even understand why, because of your unresolved childhood stuff. And that's the stuff that I can help you with. But you need to get into a safe situation before we can handle that. So I know this video was super heavy, you guys, but I love you. You don't deserve this shit, and neither do your kids. You deserve better, but you have to understand why you were drawn to this person in the first place. It's possible to leave, but you have to do the work. Because if you don't, you'll end up in the same situation, because that's just what we do as human beings. We'll just keep repeating this pattern and not understanding why. So you have to do your downloaded love blueprint to understand where in your life violence and romantic love went together like this little hand in glove in order to stop doing it in your life. But before you have the luxury of that space, you need to get yourself safe. So I hope that you found this helpful. I know that it's heavy, but if you're in this situation, you know that you've got to get out. And there is a safe and successful plan that you can create. And I hope that you do it because you deserve revolutionary love, and that does not include abuse. So please, please, please get in touch with some of these organizations. And please, as always, take care of you. You know that I am sending you amazing energy. And please send this video to anyone who you think could use this kind of help. Please share it on social media, because we do not want to leave people suffering and alone. And together, we can help lift people up and out of this violence. So, as always, take care of you.